Okay, so I am going to humbly introduce our special guest speaker. I have been with Plexus for 5 years, and when I first joined, I would hop onto YouTube and I would see this joyful, bubbly, redheaded gal teaching me everything about gut health. And I never knew about gut health before. And I thought, who is this lady? And she's so happy and joyful and she's so phenomenal. And of course, after I started learning who she was, like I got starstruck. Oh my goodness, that's Lori Harrison. She knows everything. And so what's even super more special to me is that over these 5 years, yes, she's still a Plexus celebrity in my eyes, but I've gotten to know her, and she's a wonderful, genuine woman with a heart of gold, and she helps so many people, not only with their health and wellness, but spiritual healing and mental health healing. And so I think she's just a doll for being willing to share with us tonight. And so Lori, you bless me more than you'll ever know. You're an amazing mentor, and I just thank you so much for your heart to serve. So I'm going to turn it over to you, dear.
Am I unmuted? Are you able to hear me? Okay. Well, I was concerned that no one would recognize me tonight because I had my eyelashes surgically removed last week, and I'm back to there. I'm back to Lori 1.0, and actually I'm back to Lori like birth, because I don't know if you guys have ever had eyelash implants. I'm just joking. That's not what they're called, I know. But if you've ever had those and then you have them taken off, you realize well, maybe not everybody, but all I had was stumps left. So I look like a shell of my former self, and I'm just really joking. But seriously, I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't have any eyelashes right now. So I've been going around. Well, the first 2 days I went and bought strip lashes so that I felt like I looked like myself, and I finally just gave up. I'm like, okay, I'm just jumping back in. Okay. For those of you who don't know me very well, you're going to think I'm nuts. But anyway, so I was glad to get to ask to speak to you guys tonight. I've been with Plexus for, well, let's see. In October, it was 7 years. So 7.5 almost years. And spent that first year of my Plexus business. Well, the first 4 months I spent just taking the products. I have a unique way in which I was sponsored into the company that I Googled it, saw the name somewhere. I Googled it, landed on someone's site. They didn't know they were sponsoring me. And so I can't really be mad at my upline for never doing anything, because they didn't actually even try to sponsor me. I just clicked the right buttons, landed on their team. I don't have an active upline for several sponsors up. And so the reason you saw interesting videos out there is because when I joined the company, there were no videos on YouTube about Plexus. And there were no meetings that were within driving distance of me to go to. So I was just winging it. There were no team pages. And when I would stumble across information that would make things click for me about why I would get a testimony that would have to do with someone's hair, for example. And because back then, let me back up and just say, we had the triplex. It wasn't called that yet, but we had the triplex and accelerator, and we had breast cream and a breast check kit. That was our product lineup. And even with just those products, we were getting literal testimonies from almost every part of your body. And I had come, probably like many of you, from a school of thought that if your blood pressure's messed up, you go to the doctor to get a pill that takes care of one thing, blood pressure, if that makes sense. And so it didn't make sense how something that they were taking for, like maybe initially they started taking it to get rid of a janky toenail. That's most of the people who started out on my Plexus team did it because of my testimony about my toenail. And so thinking of it like that, it didn't make sense why people were having an overall response in general. So I started making videos once I started kind of stumbling into stuff about, sometimes you would see it called leaky gut. What it's really called is intestinal permeability. And You could find obscure articles back then about the connection between having leaky gut syndrome and how it actually causes your immune system to act wacky. And if your immune system is not functioning right, I'm probably telling you guys things that you know, but I would try to connect a dot here. If your immune system is not acting right, then pretty much anything that's wrong with you will get well if you can correct that. So the big news about what we do is, hey, guess what? The immune system is God's given way to get well. And if it's been taken hostage by something, that's probably why you're sick. And if you can get that, if you can be back in control of the immune system, then you're the boss again over your health, and or your immune system is actually. And that's why people get well from head to toe. So my journey from being very, very, very products focused in my approach to Plexus, everything I talked about was about the products and what I was seeing them do for people. I kept a list in a notebook of what people would tell me. They'd be like, my joints quit swelling. And I'm like, okay, joints swelling. I'm not even knowing the proper words for it at the time. And somebody telling me that their IBS got better and that their kid's asthma was better. And I'm like, okay, I have no idea why any of this is happening. But I started making videos for my own team, by the way, but I didn't know how to put them back. You know, you remember back when Facebook didn't have the ability to put a video straight into and embed it into Facebook? You used to have to, and definitely you didn't have a way to go live. Everything was about YouTube links. So I would make a video in hopes that I would never have to talk about that topic again, because I was kind of a nervous Nelly about talking to people, talking on video. I don't like to listen to my accent back. It doesn't bother me as much now because I've heard it so much, but for the longest time, that was like an insanity thing for me. Is like, I don't want to listen to this. I don't want to hear my voice. But I was making these videos thinking, if I make a video and put it on YouTube, then every time somebody asks me that same question, I'll send them that video. And then lots of people started watching my videos, okay? And that's basically how someone like Jenny or any of you might have stumbled across my videos in the first place. And now most of those are extraordinarily non-compliant because I was listening to everything known to man that could be wrong with a person. Oh, look, I'm trying to mute people like I'm the boss of this Zoom. I'm going zoom, zoom. I'm used to being the one having to control that. Anyway, I felt like for a long time, I felt like the best approach to what we offer was to talk about the products. And that is probably still my favorite thing to do, because if it hadn't been for what the products did for me, there is no way I would have ever gotten involved. So for my personal personality, if somebody was ever going to snag me into a Plexus business, it would have required them to have talked about the products. And what I really would have loved to have heard would have been stories about people who, were kind of drowning in their mom responsibilities and feeling pressure all day long and wish they had energy at the end of the day. Those kinds of stories, I think, connect on a level that we don't quite understand. If you're not relating your story out there often, I don't mean multiple times a day, but if you're not putting your own story out there often, that's probably my number one tip tonight, or my first tip. It's not my number one tip, but my first tip tonight would be, you need to be telling your own story often in regards to what the products have done for you. Something that I've noticed, a trend that I've noticed, and did you know, after, I don't know what you call it, after a trend lasts for a long, long time and you go, well, it's probably not a trend, like it's probably the thing, is some of the really big teams in Plexus that grew really rapidly, they talk about the business a lot. And I don't know how many on this team feel, do you guys study color personalities? Do you know the red, yellow, blue, green? Am I talking?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the majority of my team, I would say, is not red, at least. Maybe I would say probably yellow, or maybe a yellow-blue combination. Some of them are definitely greens, but most of them, I would say red would fall down number 3 or 4 for them. Most of them, not all of them. And so your red natural leader types, by the way, you're in the outside world, outside of multi-level marketing, your reds usually end up managers. They're usually the people who run the show at places. And so they rise to the top in the company fast, but they don't do it without a boatload of yellows underneath them. And because I will tell you one thing, if you get a team full of reds, there's too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak, and nobody agrees on anything, and there's the harmony and the team, teamwork is the dream work, turns, it can go down the toilet really fast. So I look at Plexus as that. Even if you are a red, this information that I'm sharing tonight is very relevant, because yellows, and especially like yellow blues, blue yellows, sometimes greens, are really the lifeblood of what we do. The reason I say sometimes greens have the personality that they love it so much, the green part, the data, that they're willing to share it. But sometimes they are kind of like, they're not as sharing. Do I have any greens that are listening tonight that they think they're mostly green? Okay, so I would speak to you and say that for you, as far as the business goes, well, I think you're going to like everything I talk about today, because it's really coming to a place in your heart that will make you act more like a red in getting your business done. Because the thing that most people are missing when they get involved in this, because they come along and they're like, I love the product so much that I accidentally started a business and didn't really mean to, that wasn't my goal in the beginning, or whatever. Soccer mom whose depression went away, and now I find that I've paid for more than my products, and now I have a little business going. And that's great. But if that part of your personality is also what holds you back, there are some tips I want to give you tonight that will help you produce more like a red. Okay. What I have learned is that reds are driven by the numbers, the success, sometimes the rank, even contests. Sometimes they're driven by what's the word I'm looking for? Recognition. They have a driving force that's powerful enough to make them do the things that they need to do to rise and rank in this company. Yellows typically stand around and make sure that everything is safe for their friends before they tell their friends about it. Like they guard their influence above all things. So, for example, I would say probably very yellow. And so before I was going to tell anybody about it and put my reputation on the line, is the way I looked at it. I'm not putting my reputation on the line for some gobbledygook business. Definitely, you would have never caught me selling eyelashes, for example. Love them a lot, but you would not have caught me selling them because I wasn't looking to just sell something. It would have only been if something could really change somebody's life on a much more deep level than what eyelashes change your life. You understand what I'm saying? And so for me, the reason the business took off is centered around one core thing. And that one core thing, I hope I'm going to help you connect with it tonight. How many of you on here, I can only see a few of you live, would think that you are yellow? Any of you? Okay, who are my reds that are listening? Okay, all right. Where's my blues? Am I leaving out blues? Okay. Oh wait, Terry, which one do you fit with? Blue? Red. Okay. I thought I had talked to you about this in front of you before, and I thought you were red. So okay. I have some more going live here. So okay, so the thing is, whether you are, I'm really about to speak to yellows or basically non-reds. So this applies to almost all the colors besides red. The reason it's relevant for a red to know these things, though, like it's worth your time to hear this, it's kind of like when you're raising kids that are different than you kind of deal. and you're going, I don't get her at all. And also, she seems non-productive. Okay. If you can understand why they seem that way, especially if the majority of your team is made up of non-reds, which that's just the way it is. The majority of people in Plexus are non-reds. So if you can look at the demographics of your team and understand them better, it will help you connect better to what they need in order to produce. And I assume if you're on a call late at night that you would love to be inspired enough that you could have numbers that, produce. So I'm going to teach you guys a little trick. And I feel like I'm looking at the names because I know some of you are already going to know this, but some of you maybe not. But, well, actually, I should just have you raise your hand. Raise your hands if you've never heard me talk about heart coherence. Okay, Terry hasn't. Have you, Leanne, ever heard me talk about heart coherence? Maybe. I don't know. Well, I'm sitting here looking at the names that I don't always see all the time, so I'm like, okay. I'm getting more people to show me their faces. This is fun. I'm going to teach you something really quick about heart coherence. I'm even going to use my phone, my music, so that we can get in the fullness of what I'm a little experiment. I like to call this experiment Rich Uncle. We're going to call it Rich Uncle, okay? So I like to tell people, if you got a phone call tomorrow from your rich uncle, and they just said, kid, you got a lot of promise. I've seen you, you work really hard, and I believe in you, blah, blah, blah. And so for the next 10 years, I want to sponsor your life, and meaning I want to pay your house payment and all your utilities, your car payment. I want to pay your insurance and everything, because for the next 10 years, I want to see what you would do if you didn't have the burden of financial responsibilities every single day. Like, what would make your heart come alive? Is there something that you would put your time and effort into? And so what I want you to do is I'm going to turn some cool music on. It's my favorite music. And I want you to put your hand right here. This is called heart coherence, what we're about to do. I want you to put your fingers here. This will help you just focus on your heart. We're going to try to get out of our head, because your thinker keeps you from going into your thinker is logic, and it keeps you from going into the place where miracles happen. So I want you to just connect with your heart, and I want you to just breathe real slow. And listen to my Star Wars music. And I want you to start pulling images. What would you do if you got that phone call? Not really what's the first thing you would do, because you might throw a party, or there's no telling. You might binge watch Netflix, or, whatever. But I want you to think of what you would do after that initial excitement, and you knew you had the remainder of 10 years to chase after something, anything that's calling your name. And I'm just going to leave it there for a second and just let you think. Now, for some of you, it might be You'd spend more time like doing things at your kids' school, or maybe you would spend some time volunteering. You might plant a garden. You might work at the soup kitchen. Might volunteer at church, get involved in something like that. Let's make our rich uncle proud. I mean, come on, let's do something that would really put fulfillment in your heart. Something that really has nothing to do with consumerism, has nothing to do with clothes that you wear, you know, like that stuff doesn't really matter. I want you to connect in a heartstrings kind of way with something. It doesn't have to be philanthropic, though. It could be something, maybe you have a talent you want to pursue. So it might have to do with clothes. You know, it could. Maybe you want to design things. Maybe you want to write a book, be an artist. Maybe you want to attend conferences that have inspired you in the past. Maybe you want to take your kids to concerts and go do fun things with your family that you've never been able to really spend the time and money doing. Maybe you would become an entrepreneur of something else. Okay, I want you to open your eyes. I'm gonna turn the music down a little bit. So for a lot of people, when I talk about that kind of thing, first of all, that would be like a mean thing to do in most settings. Like I'm not gonna like show up at an elementary school and tell all the teachers to dream, because it's rude to do that to people on a fixed income who don't have a rich uncle, you know? And most people have the mindset, that mindset is stuck there anyway. They're like, well, I've never let myself go there. Usually when I do this in front of a big audience, I'll ask people if anybody wants to tell me what they saw, and the majority of people get starstruck and they don't want to say anything because it may be the first time they've ever thought about it. Maybe the first time they've ever let their mind wander because it doesn't feel like a safe place. But if you were able to pull up an image tonight of any kind, and if it resonated with you strongly, I suggest that you find that image somewhere that you can print it out and put it somewhere where you see it all the time. Because the only thing that I have ever found that will get a non-red out of their comfort zone and stay there, like, you know, an incentive might get you out of your comfort zone. But if you're not a red, the only thing I know of that will keep you outside your comfort zone and doing things that are hard and go against your nature is if you have a dream that is bigger than all the other stuff. And the only way I know to truly connect with it is strong visualization. And I kind of taught you heart coherence, which basically heart coherence is just 3 minutes every morning of canceling out what the world tries to tell you. You don't have enough things. You need to achieve more. You're never going to get out of this rut. All of the stuff that the world tries to tell you. If you'll spend 3 minutes in gratitude every morning, your life will start to change. It takes some time because you may have spent 40 years doing the opposite of that. 3 minutes every morning, gratitude, will begin to change the circuitry. If you ever study Caroline Leaf, she doesn't quite teach it like this, but this very much holds hands with the stuff that she talks about. You will notice, I have a friend on here today who has even told me, she's like, I'm doing a negativity fast, which that's a big thing. It's a real thing, and it's a big thing to fast from talking or thinking about anything negative. Try to do it for one day, and then try to do it for 1 week. You'll notice that's the only way that you can truly begin to notice how much your life was wrapped up in negativity, is when you start walking away from negativity, turning your back on negativity. Now, the only reason I feel that it's safe to talk about dreaming big dreams in front of Plexus people is because what I decided to do after my first real paycheck with Plexus, I had a dream that I wanted my husband to come home and work from home. I didn't think about him working Plexus. I thought he's going to say no to that. But I thought he could work from Craigslist and do the buying and selling of vehicles that he was doing at a car lot. I thought he could do it from home. That way he could kind of help balance out the responsibilities of the fact that I was first and foremost a homeschooling mom, as far as like my duties around the house. And secondly, I was a photographer, and I had this little side gig of Plexus. But once I saw that my return for my time invested, like I was investing very little time into Plexus and making way more money per hour in Plexus, I decided to earbuds, if anybody's got a kid listening, I decided to make Plexus my bitch. My Plexus income, that I was going to use my Plexus income to achieve my real dreams, which was bring my husband home, work from home, make my own hours, do the things that in the beginning for me, I planted big seeds with you guys earlier, but I'm going to be honest. In the beginning, I was like, I want some extra spending money. That was my big dream, you know. Nobody taught me to dream big. So I'm like, I want to be able to pay the bills and have extra cash at the end of the month and not be stressed. But I realized very quickly, the more time I invested into that as opposed to my photography business. By the way, I was an award-winning, like winning vacations to New York photographer. I was trained by famous photographers. I was really good at what I was doing, but my time investment in small town America and what people are willing to actually pay for you to do photography, my time investment was much wiser to spend it doing my Plexus business. For every hour that, like, when I finally decided to really kick my Plexus business in gear, I looked at my calendar, weddings that I had already scheduled. Do you know how long a wedding takes a photographer? Because you show up when hair and makeup starts and you don't leave until the car drives away. So you're there as long as the bride is there in almost every instance. And I began to look at every Saturday that I'd already booked with weddings and try to figure out a way to weasel out of them, because, 12-hour days in some instances, sometimes longer than that, 10 to 12-hour days though, on every weekend, sometimes Fridays and Saturdays, were not time well spent for me when I could put in an hour or two in my Plexus business and have that same kind of income and it be coming in residually, where I'm making that money every month because I was signing up preferred customers. I was sponsoring new team members who were building teams, residual income. And once I really latched onto that, I was like, oh my gosh, I completely quit booking photography appointments. I wasn't talking about how great I was at photography to brag. I was just basically saying it didn't really matter if I was really great at it. My time investment was way, way smarter spent on Plexus. And I will tell you that sometimes I have to have a hard conversation with. I just had a hard conversation with a family friend who said, it just seems like my Plexus business is not ever gonna, I don't know what it was. It was just this like a snot slinging cry fest about, I said, you know what? You haven't even posted about Plexus in about 6 months and you're still making $2,500 a month on work you did 3 years ago. this is the most loyal business I've ever seen in my life, and I don't even want to hear you talk about it because your t-shirt business is not doing that even that much with you working full time. I was like, imagine if you took the 8 hours a day that you put into your t-shirt business and you plucked out of it and you just put 2 hours every other day in your Plexus business the way you used to, not the way she does now, but the way you did initially, and you would never be crying to me about Plexus again. She needed a heart coherence talk. She needed to understand, look, you got a rich uncle offering to sponsor you here. Most people don't have that. Most people don't realize that they have it even when they do. Your Plexus income sponsoring your dreams. It's like pulling your, hitching your wagon to something that will sponsor you. That's what all sponsorship is, that someone comes in and says, if you'll wear our t-shirt, we'll pay your bills. Well, guess what? I'm happy to do that so that my family can be totally free. Like, if I have to talk about Plexus sometimes, and it's not a burden to me, don't get me wrong. But if I do need to talk about Plexus sometimes, even if I don't connect with Plexus on a, like, it's my life's calling type of, because lots of people don't, right? Like, a lot of people, Plexus is not their calling. Their calling is way bigger than Plexus. And they can't step into it because they got a 40-hour-a-week job. And so if you're like, oh, I'm going to have to learn about the ingredients, I have to do the things, I say, no, just reach out to friends. Keep connecting with people. When people have a question, don't beat yourself up with excuses. Find the answer for them, and next time that question is asked, you know the answer to it. The majority of people who never can make this business work for them, the reason it doesn't work for them is because they have decided to hatch all their babies in the land of excuses. They're like, I'm just going to hatch all these eggs in the land of excuses and never have anything happen. Like nothing ever comes to fruition because they are manifesting excuse babies. Reasons that it didn't work, the reasons it probably won't work. Sometimes they make excuses for other people, like reasons why they won't respond. If you ask them, invite them to an event. I will tell you that send, share, invite from Super Saturday is brilliant. It's only brilliant if you're doing it, though. Like, it's only brilliant for you if you do it, not if your sister does it. Unless your sister's on your team. That's true. It could be brilliant for you if your sister's doing it and your sister's on your team. But I'm saying your sideline sister, it's not brilliant for you if she's doing it and you're not. And quite honestly, the company could roll out the most beautiful red carpet of ways to do this business. And if you don't take some strategy and implement it, that's really what it comes down to. Because before we had send, share, and invite, we had people making it to diamond. Guess what? Before there were YouTube videos. Guess what? People who don't have sponsors. But the one thing I had in my favor, I don't resonate with most leaders in the company. I'm not saying I don't agree with them or anything like that. I'm saying my personality is pretty much a polar opposite from most jewels, not all, but from most jewels in the company. Because I'm very much an artist, very much creative, kind of messy, not organized, generally speaking. And I operate from a place of chaos most of the time. But I had a kite pulling my heart. I wanted my husband home. That was my thing. It got me outside my comfort zone on a regular basis. It was stronger than my fear. Every time I would think of something that would make me fearful, I would be like, I'm going to talk to you like this too. Are you going to let that get in the way of your dreams coming true? Especially because I thought my dreams were pretty fantastic. I'm talking about my husband coming home. That dream has been accomplished. And now my dreams have gotten even like on a bigger, grander scale. Like I went from dreaming about my own person, my own my specific needs to dreaming about, ooh, what could I do in my community? What could my friends and I have some really awesome prayer warrior friends, and we like to go out and we're kind of out there in the prayer field. We're like breaking off strongholds, praying, healing, and all kinds of stuff that we enjoy doing. It doesn't have to be your flavor. You don't have to do that kind of thing, but that's what we like to do. And guess what? I have time to do it because I got sponsored. That's the way I look at it. Once you're a jewel in this company, your paycheck sponsors you to do what you want to do. You still got to put in, like I'm doing a call tonight. I normally would be doing a call for my team tomorrow night, but I'm going to be at the Opportunity Tour that's coming through Dallas or wherever, Irving, I'm not sure where it is, Dallas area. So I'm still doing I still put in my leadership part, but it was that initial time investment that I spent, that initial heart coherence, those hours that I put into focus, Lori. Focus. Take this creativity that you have and channel it into something productive for a common good, for a greater good. And it worked. And it works for almost anybody who decides to get over their fear. Now, I know not everybody, this is not their thing. I get it. Some people come into this and feel that they have zero influence. And for those people, it's probably more difficult. But for most people, and I have mentored a lot of people in this business, in and out of my team. For most people, it really comes down to wanting it bad enough to do things that make you uncomfortable. And I'm not talking about doing disgusting things. I'm not talking about like the kind of things that you hear people in the entertainment business have to do to get someplace. I'm talking about uncomfortable things like reaching out to people, talking about the business, researching, understanding the ingredients a little bit better, spending time on online events, perhaps doing a video every now and then. Those are uncomfortable, but here's the way I balance it in my mind. They're not as uncomfortable as the 40-hour a week job that my husband was doing. The uncomfortable part of what I do now might be speaking on a live video, reaching out to someone and messaging them that I don't know for sure that they might reject me. That's the uncomfortable part. But if I put it on a scale, and balance it out with, well, if I'd quit doing that, my husband could go back to his 40-hour a week job. I wouldn't have him at home anymore. He wouldn't be the main influence over my children anymore. And that's way more uncomfortable to me. I mean, most people never have a silver platter handed to them. So in everyone's life, there's going to be something where you have to choose. You choose your hard, right? Choose what's hard. And for me, I don't want to work on someone else's time clock. I don't want to work on someone else's dime. I don't want anyone telling me, I don't want someone else driving my car, so to speak, driving me around, telling me what I can and can't do based upon whether they're sponsoring me or not. You see what I'm saying? Like, I sponsor me. I know I'm saying Plexus does, but my hard work sponsors me. And it may be hard to connect to what I'm saying. Depending on how your ears are filtering this, you may think it may sound like I'm kind of bossing or bragging or something like that. And it's not that. It's just really about overcoming your fears. And I will tell you that I'm being honest with you and vulnerable with you and say, on a daily basis, I have the thoughts before I message someone. Oh, what if she opens that and doesn't say anything back? Oh, well, I have had to come to the, oh, well, what if I run into her in the grocery store 2 days after she doesn't respond? Oh, well, that's the hard. That's the hard. And I wouldn't send my husband back to work so I didn't have to do that anymore. There's no way. I wouldn't go back to doing photography full time and wearing my wrist out, which is what I had done, like to the point of needing like therapy. I wouldn't do that. That's a different kind of hard. I wouldn't trade out this hard for that hard ever. I'm praying that you guys, from tonight's little conversation that we've had, if you gain anything from it, it is to get a clear picture in your mind of what you want in life, not what you want from your plexus business. Separate those two things and then bring them back together. Like it's separate. Think what you want. If what you want is something plexus by itself can provide, like if what you want is a paid for Lexus or a trip to Hawaii, then it's all intertwined. But if that is not powerful enough in your heart to get you outside your comfort zone, then you got to think of something else. Maybe the first time you ever thought of something else that's powerful enough. Maybe your marriage would be 10 times better if both of you were not, what do they say, ships passing in the night. Lots of people have like my husband, before he was working at the car lot, he was working shift work. And it was like he was sleeping during the day, working at night, and it was so depressing to try to keep kids quiet while he slept. There was something about like living, like we were living with a troll in the other room, and he wasn't a troll, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, shh, don't wake dad, don't wake dad. And I didn't even realize how like confined and depressed I was by that. But being broken free from that kind of lifestyle might be your dream come true. Like, you know, I'm the boss of our time schedule now. Like we are the boss of our life now. It's a huge thing. Yeah. I feel like I want to ask, I kind of want to pray over you guys. And before I do that, I want to ask if anybody has any questions before I pray. I'll say this. My sister and I do healing type stuff. And as soon as we got on the call, my hands got really hot. And I don't know if that means, usually that means someone on here needs a healing. But I don't know you guys well enough to know, first of all, if I'm going to freak you out if I start doing that. And, which that doesn't bother me because I'm not scared. Some of y'all know on here know I'm not scared, but about that. Somebody on here have a thyroid problem? Yeah, okay.
I might.
Okay. I learned today, as soon as I got on here, I felt a thyroid issue. Like I felt like that might be something that we would want to pray over. Mm-hmm. Okay. I learned something from a video that I watched today. There's a lady who was married to a doctor or a psychologist who had narrowed down in his research that certain organs of the body, kind of like, I'm going to explain it like this. I'm going to try to make it make sense. Kind of like we know that if your immune system is acting wacky, let's say you have arthritis, for example, we know that there's really something else going on, probably an immune system problem, and that the arthritis or maybe the eczema, that's the easiest one to understand. You have a skin issue and you realize if you treat the inner core problem, that then the eczema will go away because it's probably a fungal infection in your colon, etc. Okay. Well, this person was connecting dots between whatever organ or problem you had in your body with an emotional problem, psychological or spiritual, but emotional in some way. And he specifically said that thyroid is connected to unresolved personal injustice. Okay? That's the way he said it. Unresolved personal injustice. Something happened to you that was an injustice and has remained unresolved. Okay. Well, I have had thyroid. Like, I know that Metaburn has helped me considerably because it's something to do with thyroid. And I'm like, I've never been diagnosed with thyroid stuff. But in my heart, I was like, okay, for sure, for me, that resonated deeply with me because there have been lots of things that have happened to me that nothing has ever come of it. For example, the offender, the person, or the situation was never handled properly. And that your body basically keeps on telling you via your thyroid, hey, that was never handled properly. That was never handled properly. And so I don't know how that doctor, psychologist, or whatever he is, I don't know how he treats it. I will eventually read his book or whatever, watch his videos, take his course. I don't know, maybe. But in the spirit, I know how you can set yourself free from what I would say is similar to being offended or having resentment in your heart for something. I mean, I say you can set yourself free. You can choose to be set free because it's always there. I look at it like, especially since I started working in healing, I feel like I'm supposed to, I promise I am going to pray, but I feel like I'm supposed to do this little mini seminar that I'm doing here. I look at it like all around us and within us even is healing flow. Like, it's there. It may be blocked by something. We may be putting up a block in some way. One way that we might be putting up a block if there's a thyroid problem, especially now that I heard that today, that might be connected to unresolved. I'm trying to think the words I said. Unresolved personal unresolved issue, basically. Personal unresolved issue, an offense of some sort. So I know this much. If that is blocking the healing flow and you want your thyroid to turn back on, you can ask. You can just say, God, cleanse my soul. By the way, it's your soul that holds on to that kind of stuff, your spirit. If you have ever given your life over, if you are a believer, that's where, if you're not a believer and you've never given your life to Christ, that's where you have to start. You have to say, in fact, let's just do that really quick. I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm saying you're on here this long. If this is what you want to do what you want to do. But if you've never given your life to Christ and you've wanted to, and your curiosity is piqued, you just say, God, I give my life to you. I accept forgiveness for my sins. And I'm asking for Jesus to come in and be the Lord of my life. That's literally how simple it is. There's no particular word you have to say. It's more of a state of being realization thing than it is words. But if you are ready to give over the things that you have held on to and the ways that you have tried to make your life work and say, okay, God, I'm ready for you to be the Lord of my life. Make Jesus king in my life. I accept your forgiveness of my sins. I repent of my sins. I ask forgiveness of my sins. Come in and by the blood of the Lamb, wash me clean. In Jesus' name, we pray that right now. And then from that place, once you've been there, I didn't mean to turn this religious, but it did get religious really quick. I don't look at it as religious. I look at this stuff as like, get it off of me. I mean, I don't even attend a church, by the way. I'm not even in a church right now. God has pulled me out of church for this season for whatever reason. And my sister and I do ministry type stuff and just freelance ministry, I guess. And the big thing I've seen about healing with people, when people get healed, there's a scripture that says where Jesus said, now, after he healed someone, he says, now turn and sin no more. Being free from sin is totally different than the way I was growing up teaching about the commandments and rules and making sure you met a certain standard and lived up to a certain standard. I've learned that it really has nothing, it's not really about that as much as it is about being set free from maybe addiction or anything that would try to lord over you. And so anyway, okay, back to the thyroid. You can choose to not block the healing flow anymore. And you can be like, Father God, I choose to release whoever it is or whatever situation it was. I release the offense in my heart. I hold no offense against them. In fact, I send blessings their way. God, Father, that they would actually come to know you or know you more. And God, I ask that your healing flow would come into my body. That's my dog. It's my husband's dog. When she acts like that, she's my husband's dog. Nellie. Anybody have stomach pain or heartbreak pain like grief or betrayal? One of my healer friends is on here and she's asking me to ask that. Nellie. Thirsty dog. I should probably pull up the chat here. Okay, wait, I'm seeing some stuff here that I haven't read yet. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, thyroid. Okay. I'm going to say right now, those of you who are, because I know I listened to that today for a purpose. When I listened to it, I didn't know it was for tonight, but I was like, okay. And so right now, I just break that off of you. Any diagnosis that's been tried to be put on you via, if when you see it on ultrasound, you go, oh man, okay. I break that off of you, even the images or anything that you heard, that you would release those. You say, no, I release that from my soul. I don't agree with that. I do not come into agreement with it. I really, where you said issues are popping up, I just speak no to that, Leanne, right now in the name of Jesus. I say no. We break that off of you. And I ask that God would come in and perform his word and move those mountains for you. Okay. Betrayal. Okay. Anybody who agreed with the or who spoke up about heartache or betrayal right now, I'm sorry, I'm going to move this chat over a little bit so I can see people's faces. Okay. Are you also experiencing any physical in your body? Anything, any type of pain? Stomach pain related to it? Okay, wait a minute. Okay, I'm going to speak to what, first of all, before I speak to Angie and what you said, can I be heard? I know you're talking about something specific, so before I speak out loud about it, can people in your house hear me? I should just look at your face. I was looking for you to, can they hear me or no? No, you got headphones on. No, duh. Okay, duh. Okay. I was looking down here at one of these other names that's, okay. So I'm just going to say right now, I rebuke that. I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing. Like I'm seeing just pulling him back in. Just pull him back in. Okay. How old is he? Okay. Something specific happened 2 weeks ago? You don't have to say what it was, but I'm just asking you. Yeah. So right now, Lord, I just bind a spirit of confusion and perhaps betrayal or hurt on, maybe he was hurt by someone, or misunderstanding. God, by the wind of your spirit, that you would just come in, that you would just, I just say accelerated spirit wisdom on him and a knowingness. Is there some rebellion or something like that with you, with parental, something like that going on? Or authority figure of someone? No? So yeah, kind of. Okay. I'm just going to tell you, I sense that he just needs to be loved on. I mean, I don't know that what I'm saying lines up with what's going on, but I sense that he needs to be loved on. Not that he hasn't been loved on, but I think love is going to draw him back into where he needs to be. And I also don't, yeah, that's good. Pray for angels to visit him in his sleep. I'm going back up. I'm going to pray over all of these here. So, God, right now, Lord, that a spirit of grief and betrayal, Lord, that you would pull that from our hearts, from our souls. And I just speak peace. I even speak, so interestingly, that the nerve pain flared back up while you're going through pain and betrayal. That's what I'm picking up. So don't let things get on your nerves. Don't speak that out. Okay. If someone is aggravating you, change that thought process, even if you're thinking that they are getting on your nerves. I don't know if that's something that you ever think or say. I used to say it all the time, and I realized that was actually manifesting nerve pain for me. Jesus. A second here. Deep sorrow. Someone feeling a deep sorrow in their chest. Yes. Okay. Okay. All right. We've called all these things out. Here's what you need to know about a prophetic word. If you don't already know this, people that are on this call that are on my team do know this, but when God gives a prophetic word, when you're doing healing, when he tells like me or my other friend on here who has a healing gift, when he specifically speaks up and says thyroid or something like that, it's something he intends to deal with, something he intends to heal. So claim that for yourself tonight. Pain and betrayal, he intends to come in and heal those emotional wounds for you. It's one of those things where you have to let your guard down and accept it. And since we've spoken specifically about how to let your guard down in regards to your thyroid, how to let your guard down is sometimes literally letting your guard down. You know, if you were wounded, I don't know for those of you who've ever watched me talk about this, but if you've ever had something like happen to you as a child, there is something that can rise up in you as an adult that wants to still stand in reverence for that little girl who was wounded. And you feel like, if I don't stand up for her still, nobody else is still standing up in reverence for her, if that makes sense. And that can cause you to go through a life cycle of pain of, I don't know, the same lesson being handed to you over and over and over again. And it's learning to let go and realize that I didn't have to stand guard of my little girl heart, even though no one else did. Even though I know it doesn't make logical sense for some reason, especially women, we tend to do that. And so, hoping that makes a connect for some of you in your mind, that you can say, God, I trust you to be God. I trust you to be the judge and jury. I trust you to send an angel to stand in that place. That I don't have to be the one always standing guard over issues of my heart. And God, I take the person or the people who have caused the offense, Lord, and I literally hand them over to you. They never belonged to me and my judgment anyway. And God, I pray that you would breathe the life of your spirit over them. Most people who have caused an offense of some sort are wounded and broken themselves. I think that's probably almost always. God, I just speak tonight to sorrow, that you would restore the plugs of their joy center. Lord, you created us to be joyful, to be able to connect with joy. And we choose tonight to recircuit, like break the circuitry with sorrow and reconnect with purpose, calling, joy. Even like to our mama heart, like when we're standing in the gap for a child, and when we can open our hand and let go and let God be the author and the finisher. And we can just say, God, we give him to you. We give her to you. We give our children to you. I speak to body systems like organs. I speak to the thyroid. I just tell you right now, if you have a thyroid problem, just put your hands around like this and just tell it, it's time to wake back up. We're not going to be caught in that trap of sluggishness or offense. We're set free. Function right. Call back original design. Also, I want to speak over your families. I speak life into your family life. We're about to go through over the next 2 or 3 days. There's going to be a solar flare, which is a real thing. It's like actually happening in the atmosphere. And so moods and temperaments might be, like werewolves howling at the moon. I don't know. It's going to be a little different than that. But right now, I just say, if there's anything that you need washed off of you, broken off of you in the spirit, look, I don't want any strongholds on me. I don't want anything trying to attach itself to me that doesn't belong to me. I want to be washed clean. I put myself out there tonight. Lord, wash me clean. Anything that's not of you, wash it off of me. Anything I've been in agreement with in my life, in my day-to-day life, anything I walk around in agreement with the enemy, Disconnect that from me. I don't want any part of it. I want to be walking in fullness and joy in the light of your love. I want to be broken free from shackles of sin and any type of agreement with darkness. And that's what this solar thing, if you've read up on it at all, the solar storm, it's all about cleansing. Like energy from the sun is really powerful. I mean, I'm not talking about constellations here. I'm talking about, this is a real thing. Well, constellations are real too. I mean, God created all of this, right? For whatever reason, the way the earth is tilted right now makes our atmosphere more vulnerable to it than it normally would be. And so it will cause people to have, especially people who have a sensitivity to the spirit, to have deep, strong emotional reactions. And so when you feel those are like surfacing like a pimple. Pop them, let them go, release, right? Let it go. Don't fester in it. Don't, muck it up. Don't any of that. I think you guys are connecting with what I'm saying. Don't decide to stay in resentment. When something festers up or a memory comes up or whatever, literally grab it and release it. Go, go, go. Don't partner with it. I pray prosperity over you. I pray the oil of his anointing on the things that you do. And every step that you get closer to being set free, that more and more and more would pour into your heart. And I pray that he gives you clear vision with your eyes, that your ears would be wide open to the Spirit and a plan for your life and purpose and calling. Did you know the answer for depression is purpose? When you finally realize that you have a purpose and you see what it is, excitement and adventure rises up in your heart. And there's no room for oppression, depression, clinical or otherwise. It all has to go. So let the wind of his Spirit just clean off your eyes, clear out your ears, give you a new sense of the Spirit around you. Even your nose, even what you feel, even what you taste would be brand new in this season. And a sense of adventure would literally make you wake up with chills. You would wake up in the morning and be like, I wonder what God has for me today. I wonder what exciting thing the Lord has for me today. God, direct our steps, one foot in front of the other. I speak life over your dreams, over your heart, and that you feel an anticipation that's brand new. I pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen. There are some people on here who have really big, I know it's going to sound like generic, but really big callings and purposes that something has been holding it back, and perhaps it's just been waiting for the season, like you weren't supposed to step into it yet as in like yesterday, but now I'm feeling like it's here now, and that's what you needed to know, is that your season has come. For this to be like a small group of people and us to be able to kind of talk intimate like this, but then God is showing me such exciting, like I had this like anticipation, like, yes, break it off of them. Yes, tell them. It was a unique experience for me to feel that anticipation of the Holy Spirit on a call like this that is someone else's team. I don't know most of you. Well, some of you I do kind of know who you are, but I don't know. I just felt like I should say that. So I rambled on. Always do.
Lori, you've been such a blessing tonight. And, we had about 22 people on tonight. So you've blessed 22 hearts tonight. And, for me, it's like I'm for the rest of the night, I'm like, you know what? I've just got to be still and kind of continue in an attitude of prayer and just keep processing all the wonderful truths that you just shared with us. And so I thank you for taking the time to encourage us and bless us and teach us. It really means a lot. Thank
Well, I
you.
appreciate you guys having me on here. Um this was a beautiful way to spend a Tuesday night as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. We appreciate it. So we'll say that's a wrap. And good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Be blessed.